on YouTube too. It's live on Twitch too. Make sure though. Allow. Yeah. All right, let me go on Facebook. Just gather. I know it's late. I know I said 8 o'clock, but due to circumstances beyond my control and Rudy's control and everybody's control, we're actually on kind of late. Um,
Better late than never.
yeah, no, what a day.
Yeah.
What a day.
Yeah. How did you feel out there, Ruck?
Um, I don't know. I do you want me to be honest or do you want me to be halfway honest? Tell me what you want me to do, because I don't know what it. You know what? I just got to be honest. I felt like thank you for the young kids that put that on and put it together and started the process, but I think it needed to be more organized. I think we need to start demanding some things, because if this was a whole nother rally for a whole nother reason, I don't know, for whatever reason they would have a rally, but if it was a whole nother rally, they would have had a stage, they would have had a microphone set up, they would have had a sound man there, they would have had speakers surrounding the whole state house or wherever it was going to be held. But I also have to take accountability that that's something that we need to start doing. You know what I'm saying? Maybe
Glad you said that.
um, maybe that we can we needed to organize a little bit better and be informed a little bit better about the situation, because I had called and asked the people that I thought was throwing this rally and asked them did they need speakers, and they said they were good.
I'm gonna say this. I feel happy that for the long time, for the first time in a while, the youth actually find it cool to be socially aware.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I don't think that's happened for a long time. At least I could say from my experience when I was in that age range,
Yeah.
people didn't want to hear that shit. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to talk about it, but people didn't really want to hear that shit at that time. I think it took a lot of, my peers that I went to school with and stuff like that, probably getting around this age, once they started having kids and everything like that, for them to really start paying more attention, paying close attention, and thinking about these issues and stuff. So for me, I looked at today, of course there's critiques. There's always critiques that could happen. But I just look at it like, to know that big of a turnout happened for something that was put together by youth, not by adults, but by youth, where I don't even know how much experience these youth who put this together, I don't know how much experience they have in putting these type of things together, period.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've ever even put an event together.
Yeah.
But for them to put something like this together and for it to have that kind of turnout, to me, I look at it as good, because it's going to be encouraging to them to continue on with it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, the intent. I feel like the intent, and it wasn't super bad. Nothing happened. You know what I'm saying? Luckily, thankfully, you know what I'm saying? There's not something that I can sit here and really, really harp on that makes me feel like today was a failure. Critiques, yes, because there's always critiques, but I don't feel like today was a failure in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I have to disagree. What I disagree with is the fact that there was no plan of action. I felt like it was just thrown out there, and I feel like they do that to us on purpose. I feel like they do all right, just let them have their little rally on purpose, and there was like I wanted to see. Here's the plan. We're going from Kennedy Plaza, Burnside, the Burnside Court, to the State House. From the State House, we're going to the City Hall. From City Hall, we're going to the Providence Police Station. From the Providence Police Station, we're going from Broad Street to Broad Street. And the things that we're gonna be talking about and we're gonna be doing and within this rally, and these are the things we're looking for. And F your curfew, if we don't get these things, then we're gonna stay out here all night. Because here's the thing, is that especially with protests and throughout history, from what I know, and I'm not gonna act like I'm a historian or anything, but the protests had to turn out to be illegal situations in their eyes, meaning that if they did a sit-in, they did the sit-in in a place where they had to be moved by dogs, by water, by force,
Right.
because they no longer they were actually stopping an institution maybe from selling. I don't know if they did a sit-in inside of a coffee shop so they did the sit-in to the point where they couldn't sell any coffee, or they did a sit-in on the buses to the point where boycotted the buses to the point where they couldn't they were losing money. What we did out there hurt nobody, but it just made us look unorganized to me. And like I said, like I have a different thought and standard of how I wanted to see a protest. And then they say, well, maybe you should put it together. But they already had that going. They already had that going. So here's the thing. If you already have it going, like we're going to one in Newport tomorrow, if they already have it going, all I could do is ask you, how can I help?
Right.
But here's the other thing. I felt like the young people that did it didn't ask for help because they felt like this is a young thing. There was some remarks I didn't even like on there, like, oh, the elders had their time. This is our time. Like I don't like that, because I feel like you're trying to make it about a you situation, and it's about a us situation. You know what I mean? So those are the things I didn't like about it. Are they things that can be fixed? I'm almost positive that they could be fixed. I'm almost positive that we can have these talks, and I think that we need to come together, whoever that group is that did it, and then Black Lives Matter and the United Men and so on and so forth that are trying to lead the community in the right direction. We need to come together and sit down at a table and be like, all right, this is what we could utilize DJ Rukiz for, and we could utilize the juice for, because I've never said no in any aspect to any of these things. You know what I mean? So I think that they need to figure out how to utilize the entities that are around them. And even if they said to you, Rudy, we want to do, and I'm just throwing something out there because I know you have a lot of things that you do, but we want to do haircuts for kids under 5 years, from 5 to 10 years old, and we want to do it here, and we want to do it for this many hours. Would you say no?
No, I don't know.
Exactly. The point is that they don't know that you do that, or they might not know that you're even a barber, or the other things that you do. But we have this problem with not learning who's around us, who actually can make a difference.
I'll say this. I think in general, though, there is a pretty severed relationship with the youth and the older generation in general right now.
By the way, I have my son and his friend here, so I'm gonna bring them on later. But go ahead.
Of course. But I think there is a kind of a severed relationship right now with the youth and the older generation. I think that the youth has gone through a lot of transitions, a lot of things that the older generation don't really want to hear about, and vice versa. I think the older generation have a lot of experience that the youth doesn't really want to listen to, and I think both sides need to. I think both sides need to be able to meet somewhere in the middle and be able to engage a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because not for nothing, like you could have a lot of older people that just want an excuse to be able to tell their Martin Luther King story, that they marched with Martin Luther King. You know what I'm saying? Like, not for nothing. Like it's just like, yo, is this about the protest? Is this about you just storytelling right now?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? So I think
well, the one thing that they said was that they vetted the people that were talking. But here's the thing about that's great that they did that. And once again, I'm not even saying that um they shouldn't have made their point, the whatever their message was, their message. What I am saying is that if you're going to do things like that, let's talk to the community and see how we can people can help you out. Because here's the thing, I mean, what I'm fighting for, Rudy, is for our voice to be heard. So I am fighting for a radio station. I'm not fighting for a radio station to be a millionaire. I'm not fighting for a radio station so workers can make some money. I'm fighting for a radio station so voices can be heard. And I want a 24-hour radio station. And I'm only going back to this because I want you to understand like how I feel like they could help me versus me and me helping them in the process. So I'm looking for that radio station because I wanna be able to put them on and them to say this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the biggest problem with Rhode Island to me. And we've spoke about this, and I've spoke about it with more than enough people. But the biggest problem in Rhode Island is we do not have urban media. We do not have black media. We do not have a voice. We don't have a newspaper. We don't have a magazine. We don't have a TV station. And I said this on Channel 10 before I came in. They interviewed me. I don't give a shit. We don't have radio. We have a radio station that feels like they want to give us time when they feel like it. And then we have another radio station that claims that they're the hottest for hot. But did you see Hot 106 out there? You see a Hot 106 truck out there? No, seriously.
No, not at all.
I didn't see a Hot 106 truck out there, but they're the hottest for hip hop. And come on, let's stop playing the fucking game.
Yeah.
Let's stop playing the game and let's really start calling spades of what they really are. Like, let's stop calling it really what it is. And what it is that they're around when it's convenient, but when it's time to fight,
Of course.
when it's time to speak up, when it's time for things to be known, they're not there. So when we have those type of situations, that I don't give a shit how much they give the schools. We can have the smartest kids in the world, but if you can't tell people that, then there's no example to be led because there's nobody looking at it like them. That's an example. I want my kid to grow up like that kid that got a full scholarship to Brown or any Ivy League school that they wanted to. I want to be able to glorify our progress. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's part of the message that needed to be had only on my end. I know everybody. I know there's educators with a message. I know there's people that are even police officers with a message. I know. Like, I would love to have Corey Brown or any other police officers on because I know that they feel a certain way about this situation and it can be fixed.
Let me interject real quick, right? Because as people, we tend to have a habit of.
They better not have cut off my live. Go ahead, though.
We tend to have a habit as people when, we cross paths with certain individuals, right? For a particular time period, right? Like, let's say, like today, went to the rally and we crossed paths with certain people for that time period, right? But most people don't take into consideration that person's life away from that interaction that you're having with them, right? So the difficult thing with youth putting things like this together is that it's just hard being youth, period. Just trying to live your life at all, right? And because you're questioning yourself, you're questioning the things that you think you know everything, right?
Yeah.
And you have to go through that experience, right? These kids probably have boyfriends and girlfriends or whatever where that's not going right. It's so many things that as a kid you're growing up in. You know what I'm saying? That hold on real quick. Let me finish. That's already difficult. So it's like, and I'm not saying it to excuse it. What I'm saying is that they might not fully understand those resources that they have to them.
Keep going.
They might not fully understand those resources that they have available to them at the moment because it's they're charting on new territory. Period. Just probably standing up on their own.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And there's a certain level of like.
But don't I gotta ask you this because this is part of it. Do you think that they didn't want to seek the guidance of the older people, or do you,
I can't speak for them?
No.
That's maybe a possibility.
I mean, you were there, so you heard them. You heard the couple of things. I don't know if you heard what they were saying on the mic, which was. This was about
it was
young
to
people.
Hear. I couldn't hear everything.
So I was right there. They were saying this is about young people, but it's about us. That was my problem. So you can't exclude, because if we were throwing an old people rally, it's not like this is for older people, 25 and up. Like, how could you even do that? You know what I'm saying? It's a rally for a purpose. But listen, I'm not even gonna. Let me take a lot of this back. Well, not take it back, but let me calm down a little bit, because I don't want to make it about young versus old.
Exactly.
I really don't want to make it about young versus old. But what I do want to do, hold on one second, Rudy, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
401-400-5002. If you want to speak, if you went to the rally and you have something to say, you want to talk about it, this is what this is right now. This is Let's Talk About It. I want to talk to you. Rudy and I are talking because we're just making the dialogue, but I want to talk to the people that are out there. I want to talk to who's at home. I want to talk to mothers who have children that may have brought them to the rally. Why did you bring them to the rally? Like, I want to talk to fathers who have young black men out there, that the kings that they're trying to grow into this world. I want to talk to you. So 401 400-5002. I want you to call in and we'll talk. We'll conversate. We need some conversation. So go ahead, Rudy.
No, I was saying, for them to kind of like step out on their own and stuff like that, I applaud it. For lack of being, nice about the conversation, a lot of these kids have been abused and don't feel like anybody can hear them. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of emotional depth.
Yeah.
That outside of just being a political thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That also plays a part into it, that they don't feel like they get acknowledged and they get enough, that they get respected, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or outlets to really put that out there. I mean, we was just having this conversation before we went live, you know what I mean? There's a lot of people out here that need therapy and they don't have people that they can talk to. So sometimes when you go somewhere for a particular focus, like a rally, and then you get people on the mic and stuff like that, sometimes you can almost sense when they forget that they're at a rally and it just starts becoming a therapeutic session for them.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because it's like, I have all these people listening. I have all these people listening to me right now, and now I'm just telling stories from my personal life that I've never got a chance to tell anybody about how I'm hurting.
Yeah.
So this is the difficult part of any political conversation, is that we are all human beings. We are all fragile. You know what I'm saying? And we have personal scars that don't have anything to do with politics, but will get in the way of us getting towards what we ultimately want. We're very shattered and broken right now in the depths of our souls in a lot of ways. You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain things that and I've learned this even from doing what I do with the poetry scene and stuff like that. Certain poetry scenes that I've been around, you have some where it's like more focused on like entertainment, where it's like a good time. It's the style of the venue is something where you might bring a date out on, right? But then I've gone to other poetry venues where it's a lot of people talking about their experiences being raped, their experiences being attacked. They're talking about very, very hard, in-depth things. And me being somebody who's had the privilege of never going through that personally, right? I could feel the the tension in the air being there, and I felt uncomfortable. But I had to stomach that because it was like I need to be here to support these people. These people are like my peers right now, and I need to be here to support them.
Yes.
But when you sit in that room as an outsider, and you think about the fact that people are walking around with this inside of them, and they have to continue on their regular everyday life with that in there, and that they've never gotten, you know what I'm saying, treatment for it in any way, shape, or form. They've never gotten therapy for it in any way, shape, or form. You know, that is also underlining any type of rights that we also want. So things can get muddy. Things you know, when people say, if that was said, I didn't hear it for myself, but if that was said about like a part of it is like, yo, I'm finally taking a stand. I'm finally stepping out on my own. Right. So certain things get said, but when you dig down through the layers, it might not necessarily be the intent that, you know what I'm saying, that it comes across as. You know what I'm saying?
What do you think about at these rallies that so far have been to both protests, and the city hasn't given a staging.
Right.
The city hasn't given a microphone. Mm-hmm. The city hasn't given a speaker or speakers.
Right.
They gave them nothing. Both rallies, they gave them nothing. Do you think it's a situation where they're trying to stifle people from speaking, or do you think it's just not planned? So whatever. Because mind you, today I watched Gina Raimondo talk about the fact that she supported the rally and people just need to be safe and so on and so forth. Is going to be safe. She's got the National Guard out there and the Providence Police Department and the state police out there just for whatever might happen. So she knew, she prepared the police force. Mm-hmm. But why not prepare the rally or the protest for speakers, for people to hear what's going on?
Right.
Because you know something, that unorganization also is chaos.
Right.
It could have easily caused chaos. There's one person chanting over here. There's another person screaming over here. There's another person talking over here and trying to get people riled up for whatever they want to get them riled up for.
Well, I'll say this.
Do you think it's purposely done?
These last two, I don't know. I can't say for sure if it is or it isn't. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I don't put it past them. Right, like I'm not caping in any way, shape, or form in favor of the system, because I know the system isn't set up to work for us anyway. But damn, my thought just left my damn head. Oh no, I was gonna say though, but like the last two protests that I went to today and the one from Saturday, those are the biggest turnouts I've ever seen
in my life.
I don't know. I think a part of it is also like. I think a part of it is also like the people who put it together didn't necessarily, you know what I mean? Like, weren't expecting it to necessarily be that big. You understand what I'm saying? Because those two turnouts was the biggest turnouts that I've personally ever seen. And I was, you know what I'm saying? I remember like maybe like a couple years out of high school, you know what I'm saying, getting invited to do poetry at protests and stuff like that. And I'd show up and be like, oh yeah, we're going to protest in front of Central High School. And it's like 15 people there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's, I remember that, you know what I'm saying? And over the years, you've seen little things or whatever, like, you know, little spurts where it's like, oh wow, this is a big turnout. I've never seen turnouts like this before. And I don't know if it's only the George Floyd case and all the killing, because we've been here before, but or if Trump's presidency has been, you know what I'm saying, raising it up in people as well, whatever. There's a fire in people right now that depending on how we go about it and depending on how people handle it, could just be a moment that just passes, or it could really be something that creates like substantial change. You know what I'm saying, in people. Yeah, I'm just not sure which one it is, but at the end of the day, like, I gotta give props to the people that at least putting this stuff together. You know what I'm saying?
So I want to go back because we haven't spoken, you and I, in I mean we talk, but we haven't spoken on this platform in a while. I want to go back with you a little bit. How did this George Floyd murder make you feel? Like what was your feeling?
Personally,
Yeah, personally, what was your feeling?
I mean, there's no I don't need to be convinced that you know what I'm saying, Black lives is that is a human being regardless, right, of no matter how they're killed, right? You know what I'm saying? But like, to watch, it was one of the hardest ones to watch because of, like, you literally had to watch the life be drained out of this man for like 9 minutes.
Yeah.
8. You feel what I'm saying? You had to watch the life leave this man for that whole time period, and to hear him calling out for his mother, and then you find out that, you know what I'm saying, it was the anniversary of his mother passed away, and the day that he got killed was the anniversary of his mother's death.
Yeah.
You know, that it just it hits differently, you know what I'm saying? So for me personally, it's one of those videos that's hard to watch, but they're all hard to watch.
Yeah.
You know, I think the question more is for white people who've been in the middle for a long time. You know?
I asked you this question only because we went through the Trayvons and Sandra Bland, and we went through all these different things, but this one hit differently. It hit like
I'm
black and brown men.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're so like sensitized, like we're so desensitized from this situation. Like we get it. We're all right. Another man is shot. But this right here.
But listen to what you just said. Another man was shot. He wasn't shot.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Go ahead.
A situation where somebody gets shot, that goes by so fast. You know, it's at the blink of a moment at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
You said something to me the other day that like hit. I had to like stop and think about it. I was at work too.
You want me to go all the way through it?
Yeah, no, I was at work too. You know when someone talks to you and you're talking to them and I'm just going through my day, but I had to pull over and think about what you said. I had to pull over where I was at and think about what you said. But go ahead.
So
and I want people to understand at home that like this is just something that's on your mind almost 24/7 now. Like you really think about it. Also, I want people to understand at home too that this is a therapeutic situation. I want you to call in. I don't care how you feel. I don't care. You can how you vent your frustration. I want you to call in. So 401-400-5002. Call in and let me know how you're feeling, man.
Yeah, we're uncensored here. Right?
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead.
So, no, I had a conversation with Rukiz over the phone and a couple other friends I had been expressing this to. I live in the details, right? Like that's the type of person that I am. That's the type of artist that I am. So I can't help it. I'm always paying attention to certain details, and I did definitely notice the air being different around George Floyd's murder specifically than any other murder that I've ever seen of innocent black life. So one of the things, because the reactions that we've been seeing, never ever in the history of any of these situations, when the protests begin to happen, have I ever seen white people literally throwing themselves in front of black people to stop them from being hurt by police. That I have never, ever seen. And not just and you know, because we've seen white people be at protests and stuff like that. You know what I mean? A lot of times they're kind of just in the background and shit.
Yeah.
But I've never seen white people throw themselves in front, literally like, no, you are not going to harm him. I saw one video. There's a brother on the ground, 4 policemen ready to hit him, and a white girl is jumped on him and was like holding him. Mm-hmm. And another white woman is pushing the rest of the officers back. No, don't touch him. Don't touch him. Don't touch him. And the brother's on the ground holding on to this white woman because she's like she's a shield, like she's a life shield. And he's yelling, "Help! Help! Help!" But I've never seen that, and I've never seen police officers stop themselves almost instantly. They look like fucking robots, and you just unplug them. Like, this shit's crazy. I've never seen that before. And on the flip side, I've never seen this many police officers I've never seen a police officer, period, put themselves on camera whenever something like this happens and say that was wrong. And to have multiple people, there could be some of them throwing the banana in the tailpipe trying to diffuse shit, but there's a few of them that I've seen where I'm like, all right, this one I'm definitely sure that was genuine.
We are experiencing the power of public humility. We are publicly humiliating the police and the brutality that's happening in this country, and people are becoming awake to it and they're becoming aware. Mm-hmm. And so that spirit is contagious, and it's catching everyone like fire.
Right. I think also adding on to that as well, it's something about George Floyd's murder specifically that hit people differently, because we've lost Ahmaud Arbery, Sean Reed, Breonna Taylor. There's been people after George Floyd that have also been murdered. Right? It's been continuing, right? But it's George Floyd specifically that gets highlighted, and his name is the one that is said with so much fire and vigor behind it. And I feel like that video in particular struck a chord with white America that might have been on the fence.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have three types of white people. You have the allies. They're clear. You know what I mean? They're clearly on our side. Yeah. You see, the allies, but then you have another group of white people that they're fragile because they don't want to admit that they're not as special as America has been telling them they are all their lives. And so they can't let go of that enough to have the difficult conversation. Now, they might not necessarily want to see black people die, right? They're not necessarily all the way in the other group, which is just straight up racist and you just a fucking devil. Right. But they are like at a place where it's like that they can't get over that discomfort, right, where it's like, yo, like your discomfort, whether you know it or not, whether you fully understand it or not, because you want to hold on to your struggle and say that we all struggle the same way, because you want to hold on to that because you're uncomfortable with the real conversation, you subconsciously saying that my comfort is worth your life. But yeah. I think this struck a chord with some of them where I don't know if there's much of a middle ground anymore. I think it's you've either gone full on racist or you had to turn into an ally, right?
This is what it's all about. It's coming out of and coming into that grave.
Absolutely. But Pete, the details about the George Floyd video specifically. Number one, we said earlier, he wasn't shot.
Okay.
Right? A shooting goes by so fast that the details get muddy. And especially with police, like they did it with Mike Brown, you know what I'm saying? It happened with Trayvon, where it's like the details go by so fast that you can kind of make them up as you go along to save your own ass. And people are probably going to go along with it. Right? So that's number one. We had to watch the life leave this man, which is a very difficult thing to watch, to sit there and watch. That cop had to physically put his knee on the back of that man's neck. And I don't know about you, but anytime that I see that video or even think about it, I feel a pressure on my neck.
Yes.
I feel a pressure on my neck, and I'm pretty sure everybody who has watched it, you feel this heat on your neck.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's like it's furthering making it personal.
It magnifies
right?
the pain that we've been feeling for years.
it magnifies the pain also that he's going through right there at that moment, because we have to remember this is an issue of black people not being viewed as human beings. This is where the conversation always has to start, that black people still to this day are not fully looked at as human beings, right? So when he has this knee on the back on his neck, and I think it just personalized it for certain people. But then on the other side, right, he was strangled to death, but who else was strangled to death? Eric Gardner. Eric Gardner was strangled to death. Now, when you see the Eric Gardner video and the George Floyd video, there's a big difference. The big difference is that when you watch that Eric Gardner video, you get a chance to see how big and how strong Eric Gardner was. You get to see this physically just like dominant individual. Right. Now, for white people who have a fear of strong black men, they immediately got to latch onto that detail and completely ignore the fact that Eric Gardner was choked out. Right? Because it's like, oh, well, look how big he is. They had to, even though he had his hands up the whole time, he wasn't fighting back in any way, shape, or form. But it's like, oh no, but look at how big he is. They had to. It just went too far. What are you gonna do? Right. George Floyd, you don't see him standing up. When that video starts, when that first frame, as soon as you click play on that video, when that first frame hits, he is already on the ground, damn near halfway dead. And he was a big guy too. He was 6'5". That's what I'm saying. He was a big guy too, big strong guy. But you don't see that. You don't see that in that video. So I think what the George Floyd video did was it struck a chord in a different way, because it was like, you have no excuse. You have no outs. Literally every single excuse that you've ever tried to use in the past to excuse these type of things, you literally have none of them right now.
And they came up with the excuse that every American is familiar with, coronavirus, to use as an excuse.
Right. They're trying to use that now. Yeah,
well, I think that they're trying to throw a whole bunch of things in the pot, because I'm thinking, and this is just me thinking, that they're trying to deflect one from all the protests and everybody actually caring for him. Yeah. One, but two, I think what they're trying to do is figure out a way to they upcharged him second-degree murder, but they still have to convict him of second-degree murder.
Thank you.
So
thank you.
They're trying to figure out
if at the end of that trial they say not guilty, this means nothing. And I need people to remember that this means nothing if they say not guilty at the end of the day.
Here's the other problem with charging them with second degree or first degree murder. It's harder to convict for those particular charges. You know what I'm saying? So it's more likely for him to get a slap on the wrist. Yeah. When it comes down to those charges.
Is he going to take a plea? Is the question I want to know. Are they even going to waste taxpayers' money to even go through the process and the protocols? Well, are they going to spend the money of taxpayers when they know that this man is in the wrong? Are they going to spend money?
Here's the problem. I think that this is why I love the peaceful. Oh, it's so peaceful. I love it. I love the butterflies and birds flying around and everybody chanting. It's beautiful. But here's the fucked up thing about all that is that because we're not really demanding shit. Mm-hmm. We're not demanding shit with these protests. And we're just saying Black Lives Matter. When it comes down to this guy's prosecution, they're going to figure out a way to get out of it. Now, if we were demanding something like we want him convicted. Yeah. Do you know what a crime we want him convicted of the charges that are put forth the court. We want him convicted of those charges, and we didn't let up, and we kept on going, and we need all of them convicted of something.
Let me say something that I've been thinking about recently. It kept me up late last night thinking about this. What's very difficult that if we're gonna be fighting this fight, something that we have to understand is that we're playing with very evil people's playing fields. It's not. It's like the evil that exists in the other side of what we're fighting against. It's almost. I could almost believe that these motherfuckers come from a whole nother planet. That's how evil a lot of these motherfuckers are. Like for real. Like you can't undersell it, right? Now, our people, that's not naturally in us. We want to feel good. That's natural to us. That's right. We are loving people. So it is difficult for us to stay angry for a long period of time. It's exhausting to us. You know what I mean? Because we want to feel bad so good. But racist white people, they live in this. They live in just being evil all the fucking time. They don't get tired of this shit.
Yeah, no.
And that's the difficult part about it. They're evil even when they have money. Think about that. You have the money already. Your family is good and you still need to do fucked up shit to people. That doesn't even make sense.
We got a comment on the chat. It says, "Thank you for sharing the physical impact of actually feeling it on your own neck while watching the video. The psychological impact and the trauma of this on POC is a worthy discussion."
Word.
I have a question for Rudy. What do you think about the other officers? Now, this is a question that one of my friends on Facebook actually brought to the table, and it was an amazing question because, from my understanding, the other officers that were involved in this incident actually only had maybe 3 days or maybe 3 weeks of training. Mm-hmm. So a crime when you commit a crime, it's actually knowingly and intentionally committing it.
Yeah.
And so you have 3 people, 2 of them which just got on the academy maybe 2 weeks ago. What do you think should be the punishment for not knowing or not having the courage to be able to stand up to your superior officer and break up?
Hold on. Before you answer that, I want to always answer the calls.
Yeah, for sure.
Hello.
Yo.
How you doing? Who's this?
What's good? It's Dave.
Dave. How you doing, Dave?
Taking it easy, man. Taking it easy. Very proud of the city for what I saw today. The only thing, I mean, it's funny. So with the protests that we had today, for the most part, I think that certain voices were heard. It was peaceful. It was a lot larger than the first time around. But I think what we need to do is dive a little deeper into the first go around and how to really hit home as to weighing out the pros and the cons for what happened. And really what I'm talking about is the looting and the rioting, right? So you figure, is it all right if I talk about that?
Yeah, no, go ahead. Talk about whatever you like. That's the point of this.
So you figure we got over 60 arrests were made the night of. Now, majority, and I'm not sure the accuracy of this. I did see a report. I saw a majority of the names, or all the names that were arrested, I guess, the night of, and 60 plus people taken down, and only one Rhode Island resident was named. Now, that's not to say that that was the only Rhode Island resident looting.
Yeah.
There was only one that was arrested. The rest were all from Massachusetts, I guess. They were all Massachusetts residents. And this is my thing. I understand that the message, we have to send this message, right?
Okay.
As far as being fed up, angry, I get that. At the same time, we have to protect our children, our women, and our home. For me personally, downtown Providence has provided me refuge. It was a place of refuge for me when I needed to get away. When I sought out after, albeit independence, financial independence, leadership, guidance. Downtown has been that for me and so many others. And this is our home. So when you have Rhode Islanders that either one aren't protecting home or certain things are being allowed that's damaging our home, we have to do better at that, at trying to get that message across. When you put this into perspective, you have a child, you got a young kid from the city, and the one thing that we always want is to fight for our youth, because they really are the future. So if you have a kid from the city who's trying to stay out the way, just do the right thing, stay active. If we take away and that one of the few things that we can give him is a job. We can give him a job. We can give him a sense of responsibility, something that he can grow with, something that he can take home with him and inspire his friends and get them out the way, right?
Yep.
Now, if we take that away, we damage property, jobs, buildings, downtown, the mall, whatever it is. And it takes longer and longer for them to open that up. What we don't realize is we're stripping a place of refuge away from youth that may need it. So where that would have helped them to stay out the way, now they're back home and they're sitting on their ass with nothing left to do, mad, angry, and they're in the way. We're putting them in harm's way again, just for something that happened with law enforcement. You never know. We could be putting them right back in harm's way because we're taking away their place of refuge. We're taking away their place of peace. We're taking away the thing that gives them a sense of responsibility, their job. Wherever they, if they have that, and that's where they can get away after school, after practice, on the weekend, they make a little bit of money. They're able to kind of socialize with friends, people that may not have a job that they go to school with. They see them working. They see that they have something that's inspiring.
Yeah.
I swear it trickles down. When I had a job when I was a teenager, I was like one of the first of my friends. I worked at the mall.
Hey, brother.
It trickled down.
Not to interrupt you, brother. What's your name?
Dave.
Dave, what do you feel is the solution to all this? I heard all the things about what has happened in the past in regards to the, looting and the other things that have happened that have, kind of tarnished the, movement and his name. But what can be done? What type of solutions do you have? What's your takeaway from all this, Dave?
So what I think is that firsthand, you have to know who's directly affected by what's happened. Because if we don't know firsthand who's been directly affected, then we won't know the damage that's actually been done. So I think certain folks that have been affected by and have experienced it and been on the front lines, they should speak. Shouldn't be afraid to share that story. But the big thing I think is that we need outlets. Right now we're so closed off from doing so many things. We have to find creative outlets and creative ways for us to really express ourselves. I see other cities, other states in the cities, and they've created events, like just pop-up events that celebrate Black culture out of these protests. They took away the militant aspect of it, or it's not as infused with anger, and it's a lot more celebratory as to who we are, our culture. And I do think that we need to utilize our outlet and the time that we have when we're out there. We have to utilize it a lot more creatively and wisely, and be able to celebrate our people. We talk so much when we're out there, and we do, and we voice our opinions and we voice our issues. But I do think that we should celebrate ourselves a bit more. That we need that outlet. There's so much tension. I think that what we're missing is a great opportunity to celebrate with each other, the people that are here, and celebrate the lives that were lost. We're fighting for them, but that's another way to fight for them.
I think the part of the problem is that we're still in the midst of I'm putting quotations on it if you can't see coronavirus. I'm only putting quotations on it because we don't know what the hell's going on. 1 minute we can't get in groups, and then we just defied that, and we're out protesting. So I think the celebration you're asking for, Juneteenth is one of those celebrations that we could definitely get together and learn about black culture a little bit more. But I think part of the problem with the celebration aspect of it is that we right now we're not supposed to be congregating in large groups. But I think that's a good solution. I appreciate that. And appreciate your opinion, and want to thank you for calling, by the way.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. This is like another holiday, and I think it's necessary. And I think that we can come up with all different types of ideas. I mean, if Corona is a fear still, for a lot of us, I know it is, let's find different ways where we can still stay within the rules, within the confines of what the state is allowing us to do. Maybe 10 people here, 10 people here, 10 people here, throughout different pockets of downtown. We live stream it and we celebrate together in a creative way. Like one DJ here, one DJ there. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. But yeah, I think we could take away the tension and celebrate ourselves. That'd be helpful.
Yeah, I appreciate the call. Thank you. We're looking for other callers. If you want to call in, 401-400-5002. And Dave, thanks again for calling.
I think
401-400-5002.
Piggybacking off of what he was saying, I think two things that need to happen within the city and its people is resolution and relationships.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and I think I know where you're going, but go ahead.
And I think also too, like because I heard Dave say creative outlet specifically. As a creative myself, I'm an actor and a spoken word artist. How can I say this without it sounding like kind of fucked up? Honestly, like I feel like if a lot more people could see themselves in other things, right? Like just if people knew how much money was in other jobs, they might just go ahead and do that, because there's a lot of people who rap not because they love the craft of rapping, but because they want to make money.
Yeah.
But they don't understand that there's not that much money in rapping. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's actually a lot more money if you want to be behind the scenes of the rapper.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, so what I'm saying is, like, I love the creative outlets. Don't get me wrong. I'm obviously an advocate for the arts. The arts saved my fucking life. You feel me? But I think that also, we spoke about this over the phone when you mentioned GIPTA, the GIPTA program.
Yeah.
You know, we need something that just gets kids working, period. Because we're only getting kids, the kids of our youth, we're only getting them to look up to athletes and entertainers. 100%. Right now, they're looking at those two as their only options out of whatever it is that they're whatever conditions they're living in. When in all actuality, there might be a genius fucking plumber living in the south side of Providence who might be the most genius plumber in the fucking world or whatever and shit like that, and he's not doing it because he's trying to get in the music business. You know what I'm saying? And it's actually not necessarily really his passion like that. He's just doing it because the only people that look like him are the ones doing it. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying?
No, I totally. I say this all the time.
Kids need experiences with just working. Period.
Here's the problem is that and this goes back to action.
Yep.
We need some action. We need. All right, that's beautiful. We had a beautiful protest, and that the white lady from Foster Gloucester came out. Thank you. But here's the problem with that. When that lady goes back to Foster Gloucester, what the hell is she doing?
Yep.
And to be honest with you, and I'm gonna put some accountability on Black Lives Matter, Rhode Island. I'm gonna put some accountability on all the people that are the leaders of the communities around here. What do we donate? Can we donate something, and where?
Right.
But there's no information. I didn't see a flyer. I seen people passing out masks. I seen people passing out water. I seen people passing out "fuck Trump" buttons. But I did not see anybody passing out information on how to support the cause after they leave there. We had 5,000. I don't even know how many people were down there, but it was in the thousands. So if we have 5,000 people out there, what is the message they leave with? Do they leave with the message of I heard them chanting, "We want Gina," like she's Easy E coming out of like what we want Gina?
That's an old joke right there.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, like at the end of the day, what is the message at the end? Like, what does my son leave with? What is my son's friend that we're gonna bring on? What does he leave with?
Right.
Because I feel like they didn't leave with a goddamn thing. They left with the fact that we could go on the steps and chant for as many hours as they'll let us.
Yeah.
And when it's curfew time, you're supposed to go home, but maybe we won't go home.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Oh, we ain't going home.
I think living.
Lady Ruck said there's a lot of information, and actually, but it ain't at the rally. Well, that's the goddamn problem. It needs to be at the rally.
Facts.
When we have Karen and Becky and Cindy at the rally. We need them to go home with some information, because if they can't directly help us and be there, maybe they could donate to a cause that can help a kid get a computer during coronavirus when there's no computers for these kids to have, so they're not even being educated for 2 months. 2 months at home with coronavirus, and they can't go into a classroom. They need a computer, and they're sending these I'm gonna use a fugazi ass computer to these kids, and they can't even get on the internet. Right. Because want me to tell you why they can't get on the internet? Because their parents don't have internet.
Right.
So you gave the city might have gave them a computer, but they can't get on the internet. So while they're doing Zoom classes, you're wondering why this young man can't get. Oh, your son hasn't been on Zoom calls. Well, we don't have internet for him to be on a Zoom call, or the internet's not strong enough or good enough for them to be on the Zoom call. So in the middle of their lesson, it's freezing.
Yeah, I think, and this is kind of a catch-22 because I'm live on Instagram right now, but I think right now we live in a very, social media driven kind of times, and it's a time where everybody wants to express themselves, right? And it's one of those things where expression has been placed above action in a lot of ways. You know what I'm saying? Well said. I think we need to examine our relationships with a lot of things. But personally, as someone who, you know what I'm saying, I purposely take breaks from technology, I can tell you from firsthand experience that it will clear your fucking mind like you wouldn't believe. Just turning that shit off for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Just turning that shit off every now and then. I mean, I'm on it a lot right now because of the situation at hand, and trying to put information out there and things of that sort. But honestly, I definitely do feel like we're in the times right now where people are expressing themselves over like action a little bit too much. There comes a certain point where it's like we need to stop talking and actually having, like you said, a plan in place. You know what I'm saying? There's some action to actually take take forward to. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I think that plays a big part. I think technology has made things way too convenient for us. It's even made activism convenient. You know what I'm saying?
So what are some of the things you would like to take, like for them to do better, or to take from this? What's some of the plans of action you would like to see?
I think you talking about for the youth who put it together today specifically?
No, just period. What do we need? I mean, we're in a social media age where things are important in the moment. and then a month later they're no longer important. So I don't want George's death to be in vain, and we just got some protest out of it. Like this thing is global at this point. So we need to figure out how or what is the action from this situation. I'm not saying here acting like I know what the action is. I know a couple of things that I would like to see, but what would you like to see?
I think the biggest thing that I would like to see is people arming themselves with more information. Not just on social media, but looking for things outside of their immediate understanding that could also be beneficial to them. You understand? I want to see people take more of an initiative for themselves and understanding that at the end of the day, you know, the system benefits off of you being uneducated. So educate yourself. You know that there's an emotional side, there's a passion-driven side to activism, but then there's a physical side to activism that is probably more effective. You understand what I'm saying? Like it's one thing to loot and you know, fuck shit up, but it's another thing to actually take money out of the pockets by not putting money in their pockets in the first place.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like that's a whole other thing. And we're dealing I think also too, one of the two fights, there's two different fights. There's a fight to be accepted as humans, which is a feel-good fight. And I respect that fight, but there also has to come a point where we have to have the fight of economics and understanding economics and understanding our dollar, because that's all people past a certain point are really going to understand. You know what I'm saying? As far as the higher ups, and we could get to the call, and I'm gonna restart my Instagram.
All right, you're gonna have to turn caller. You're gonna have to turn your radio, the internet down, or whatever you got going on down. Jeez. Hello.
It's me. It's Lady Rock.
Oh, it's Lady Rock.
Lady Rock.
What it do?
Yeah, it's Lady Rock. I'm calling in to disagree totally with y'all. Wish I was in the studio so I could do it face to face.
That's what's up, though.
But no, I want to say a couple of things first and foremost, because I want to first go to where Rudy was saying lack of information, and I wanted to know exactly what information did you feel that the youth were lacking?
I don't know if you caught the beginning of this live, but I said there was.
Nope, I came in a little while ago, so that's why I needed to know exactly.
I mean,
what
just
information are you feeling like they're lacking?
Information that I feel that they're lacking, or information that I mean, things that they did wrong today, in my eyes.
Well, you said when he asked you the question, he said, "What would you like to see more? What would you like to see happen?" And you said you would like people to get more information, as basically, which gave me the impression that you were under the impression that people didn't have right information. So
I was talking about the protest, though. I was talking about at the protest. I felt like there was no information. There was nothing tangible for people to take home with them. There was no flyers, no information for them to donate to whatever cause that's going to help.
No, I'm gonna get back to that.
Talking
that's
about
not what I was asking.
you're talking about my answer, right, Lady Rock?
I'm asking Rudy. Yes, I was starting off with Rudy's last statement, in which he said that he felt that people needed to get more information, and I wanted to know exactly which misinformation did you feel was out there at this time. Well,
I mean, it's more of a general. It is a general statement, but it's specific to. I think we're in a time where like the way we're receiving news and things like that, a lot of it gets sensationalized. And what I'm saying,
it's so hard for me to understand you
After this
right now.
call.
I can't even hear you.
you can't hear me?
Well, it's kind of hard for me to understand what you're saying. Are you far away from the phone?
Yeah, I kind of am. Hold on, let me bring it over. Can you hear me better now, Lady Rock?
Yes, I can hear you. Yep, I can hear you better now.
Okay, no. So basically, I'm just getting at, like, we get sensationalized media given to us and things like that, and we tend to run with it a lot. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of media that takes advantage of our like, it takes advantage of our emotions a lot, and it plays with our emotions when, like, a lot of things, when you, like, just look into it a little bit more in depth, you end up kind of seeing the game that media kind of plays on us in a lot of ways. So when I say, like, just receiving more information, like, just looking into different things just past what we get from each other. You know what I'm saying? But, like, reading, we need to get back to reading. You know what I'm saying? And people, I don't think people are really reading. You know what I'm saying? On a bigger level. We need it, myself included. You know what I'm saying? I say this challenging myself as well. But, like, we need to get back to reading different things. There's a lot of times where we ask questions to other people who aren't necessarily professionals. You know what I'm saying? In their fields, and we're taking their advice. You know what I'm saying? Like it could be about anything. It could be about diet. It could be about fitness. It could be about whatever, right? But we take advice from people who aren't necessarily professionals when there's books that could probably tell us, you know what I'm saying, all the information that we really need. So it's just about, like, when you want to get something done, or when you need to better your situation, looking for more substantial information as opposed to kind of putting too much trust just for the sake of, going against the system, or, you know what I'm saying? Like it can kind of get. Go ahead.
I get what you're saying, but I guess my question is a little bit. My concern, number one, about some of the rhetoric that I'm hearing from people, especially about young people, they clearly do not understand movements, and if you really know history, you research history, even the civil rights movement was led by the youth. Everybody doesn't realize in the times of in 1963, Brown versus Board of Education, these kids that were doing sit-in and rioting and all that other stuff, the adults who had the same rhetoric and same talk as some of us adults actually are having. And I want us to be careful of making those statements, because I don't see any young people as being misinformed. It's really black and white right here. A man was killed by an officer. Officers kill black people, and enough is enough. I don't really feel like there's a place for a narrative saying, well, you guys, you should do this and you should do that. It really is just about the reaction, just like in 1968 when we had the riot, when Martin Luther King was killed. It's a reaction to situations. Yes, it may not be something that you personally are going to do, but I understand and I get it. It's happened worldwide, not just U.S., all over the place. Now, the reality is when people say, oh, there's a better way, there's a different way, we could do this peacefully. Why are people expecting the youth who are not being violent, they're destroying property, capitalism, we're a capitalist society, that's what should happen, really. But why do people think that you should be coming for a violent or war on black people? Your approach to a war should be a peaceful situation. That has not worked at all this time. Black men have been getting killed by people in power with no repercussions. People kill each other. We understand that. So I'm not going to be, it's like another narrative that I see other people talk about, black on black crime and comparing it to this. There's no comparison. We are talking about people who are hired to uphold the law, to protect and serve. And they are allowed to kill black men, black women, black children at will.
Lady Ruck. Listen. I wanted you to get. I did not want to interrupt you at all.
Not at all.
I did not want to interrupt you at all. However, respectfully, my answer isn't necessarily tied to what I personally feel about, you know what I'm saying, the youth and their protest today. Like that's not an answer that has to do with it. a lot of stuff that you're saying,
Oh,
I'm with you.
okay, but wait. I'm going to interrupt you because that was your answer to, we were talking about protest. That was the pretense of the conversation. And this is why, and I'm not saying just Rudy, a lot of adults I've been watching, I've been staying quiet. I've been watching it happen. Not just you, but that was just the conversation you and Rukiz were having about the protest and how ineffective it actually was and what you would rather see happen. So that's why I'm saying that in response to that. If this was just a conversation about what black people need to do to better themselves, then yeah, there would be no debate.
Respectfully, my answer is more about what do we want to do in continuing past the protests as well. That's what it's more about. You know what I'm saying?
Let's, Lady Ruck,
my
let's
answer
talk about
is more
that.
about adding on. My answer is more about adding on to also. Yo, Lady Ruck,
let's talk about that. Let's talk about what's the next step. In your opinion, what is the next step?
I called in to ask the questions based on the conversation.
I know, but I'm asking you now. What is?
So it might not be comfortable, but I think a lot of adults need to hear that as well. Stop condemning the youth for standing up. Because if the youth didn't
no one's condemning anybody.
But Lady Ruck, I'm on your side is what I'm telling you. I'm on your side with that. What I'm saying is not going against what you're saying.
Let me finish saying what I'm saying. I'm falling in the talk. So adults that are doing that I'm seeing everywhere, your statement brought that out for me as well. Let's not condemn the young people, because in 1953, the young people were doing the same things that got us the rights and the civil rights that we are accorded to today came from those behaviors. It had to start with a revolution, and it had to be that way. And you can't be dismissive of, all right, well, what are we doing next? This is the stage we're at right now.
But Lady Ruck, listen. I love what you're saying. My only thing is you can't put words in my mouth either.
Right.
You can't say that I'm being dismissive. When you slip little things in there, like saying that being dismissive, when you're asking me a question directly, you understand what I'm saying? That's where I'm being a little bit like not sure as to where exactly we're going. Is this a question is this a slight to me directly, or is this a slight to the older generation? Like what is it? Because then I don't know how to respond.
It's not a slight. It's an observation, and my basic opinion of the statement that you just made. And I'll leave it at that, because I don't want you to feel like it's a slight to you or anything in that nature. It's an observation of what I'm noticing, and my encouragement of the older generation, while we're trying to step in and be helpful, not to be condemning and dismissive of the young people. That was number one.
Okay, we got that.
When all bullshit aside, I'm with you, sister. That's it.
And Lady Ruck, I want to say thank you for calling up, because this is an important phone call, and I think a lot of us, we get confused sometimes. And it's just like the old, I guess the old math question is, 1 times 9 is 7, 9 times 2 is 18, 9 times 3 is 27. And so we continue to answer the question correctly, and then we say, hold on. Immediately, before we even finish our math equation or our formula or our story, we got somebody jumping in and saying, wait, 1 times 9 is not 7. They make a reaction to look at the thing that you did wrong. We're focusing on the things that went wrong instead of what went right. And that's our nature. It's who we are. You didn't call up and talk about, and nothing against you personally. I think what you're saying and what you're doing, I think is a direct response of the condition that we have, and we need to continue to learn from this, is that, we need to stop looking at the things that went wrong, or looking for the things that went wrong, and start looking at the things that can go right. Looking at the amazing, articulation of this man and the way that he spoke today and what he said that was so positive that we could take the takeaways from what Rudy has said today was so much more important than that little
Wait, see, whoa, back up, because y'all are taking it to a different. That is not.
I don't even want to. Lady Rup.
At all.
Lady
I
Rup.
was asking a question
Lady
based on
Rup.
what he said. I'm
Lady
sorry
Rup.
people didn't like my response. Now I want to get back to what I wanted to ask Rukiz about his statements about white people and the black movement and all that other stuff.
Okay.
Now, wouldn't we be upset if white people were not standing up and said, regardless of their situation, and the assumption of whether or not you're assuming they're donating, you're assuming they're not donating. Do we want white people to be standing with us or not standing with us? That's what I need to know. Because based on what you said, Rukiz, you don't want white people to stand with us.
I didn't say that. When did
I'm just telling you. Listen.
When did I say that?
Do you guys want people to have a conversation with you, or you just want people to agree with you?
I'm saying, when did I say that? You just put that out there that I said.
Because you said Karen. All right. So I'm gonna tell you how I got that. You said Karen. That's from Situate or Foster Gloucester. I think you said Foster Gloucester.
I said I don't want you to leave there with no information to help us out later on. You can walk with us, but then when you go home, you forget about us. No, of course we want you. We obviously need some of their influence to help us move this forward. So in that case, of course we need them around. Like, we can't just say we don't want them to stand with us. Of course we need white people to stand with us, but standing with us and then forgetting is something that I don't want to happen.
Well, why is it okay for you to assume that that's what's going to happen, though?
Because that's what always happens. That's what always happens. That's what always happens when it comes to
we're self-sufficient. But here's the thing: if we're self-sufficient, and we can't
be self-sufficient yet without the help. We gotta.
Can I finish my statement? If we become self-sufficient, we don't have to worry about who's standing with or not, right?
And how do we become self-sufficient? You're saying some really good stuff. How do we become self-sufficient? What do we do for ourselves first? What do we do for ourselves?
Plenty of ways we become self-sufficient. Obviously, we
can't be self-sufficient if we don't have the proper things to help us become self-sufficient, and those things we need an ally in the white people. So all I'm saying is, when they get home, do not forget that you marched with us 72 hours ago, and then all of a sudden it's back to Karen's regular world. I want it to be Black lives gotta matter all the time, not just when you're marching.
Karen is a woman of privilege. That's the reality of it. You cannot, unless we change systematic racism and the institutions that are in place, and now I'm going to go back to the protests and why they're important, because they make a noise, enough so that people have to start making changes. All across the country, police departments are making many changes. And it's not because we're not protesting. It's because we are protesting. It's because people are rioting. That's why they're making these changes. And those are some of the institutionalized, systematic racism things that need to start changing for us to be able to have a level playing field. It's not to make people not be racist, because we're not going to be able to do that. But as far as legal things, that's where we have to concentrate on. We do have to make a big noise about black men. They are at war with black men. We have to make as big as a noise as we possibly can. And we have to let it be. And you know what? It's going to be the young people. And sometimes they're going to go far less. It's our responsibility to remind them of what the focus is, but I don't want to condemn them. That was my big point earlier.
No, I appreciate that. And
all right, that makes sense.
I'm right there with you, Lady Ruck.
We don't need to condemn them. We need to support them.
We're gonna bring my son. Yeah, we're gonna bring some young people up. My son and his friend. We're gonna bring them on until they could talk before they have to get out of here, because I don't know if they're gonna. I don't know if they're gonna be able to. Hopefully, they'll be able to make it home in a curfew.
There they are.
I don't know. You might want to have them stay there overnight. I wouldn't chance that.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
I wouldn't chance that. I wouldn't chance that. All right, now I got you guys going. I shared your live. Love y'all.
Love you, Lady Rock.
All right, Lady Rock.
Peace out.
Bye. What's your name?
Oh, my name is Joshua Franco.
Josh. How old are you?
21.
21. What do you think about what's going on right now?
Where you want to start?
I want to start. That's a good one. Let's start. You at the protest today?
Actually, it was. I have a lot of comments.
Okay.
Oh yeah. First Amendment. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Where do you want to start? The pros or cons?
We want to start where you want to start. First of all, introduce yourself and tell people why you feel this is important for you to speak and for you to voice, and give us some takeaways.
All right. So while I was going to the protest today, it felt weird. I'm gonna be honest with you. It felt like a video game. Actually going there and seeing people support you for who you are and what you believe in, I felt it was fake. It was fake love. They don't know the pain or they don't know what's really going on. I feel like they feel that they're forced to support, if that makes sense. Because if you don't support, you're gonna be judged. So like if you're not supporting Black Lives Matter, you're racist. How do you feel about that?
Do you feel like you're targeted?
Oh yes, I was just targeted coming down. It's funny when you want to say targeted. I was targeted by the state police today. I was targeted by National Guard today. I was actually trying to send people home before the riot started. While I was coming to the radio station, I was targeted by policemen. I had explained to them why I was in the street versus someone that is white. I'm not being racist. White, they were in the street too, and they were fine. Like, I had to put my hands up, and coming into the station, I had to put my hands up and tell them we're good. We're good because we're in an alley. I'm promoting nonviolence, but you gotta understand we're in an alley coming down the street. You gotta understand, like, put two together. If you want to say like I'm a minority, you're a person with a gun. You could just say I was provoking you, and I'm dead. And that's a story they want to hear on the news. Also on the news, I didn't see my face at all. I felt really ashamed upon what they were trying to promote. I don't want credit.
Why did you think it was fake love?
Because I had to encourage white folks to come up and actually be a part of the movement. I actually had to break the ice. I had to make sure they understand we are not here to fight with you. We actually just want our voice to be heard. So at the you said police?
No.
Oh, the police actually they couldn't say a word to me when I was talking about segregation, gentrification. There was a lot of there was two policemen. I actually asked them, "You're willing to shake my hand? It's your choice. It's on. At the end of the day, it's on you. Your choice is your choice. You don't want to shake my hand? I'm a U.S. citizen. It's cool." So he was forced to shake his hand, like shake my hand, and there was a few other cops looking at me. Hey, you can't beat me, so join me. That's how I feel. So at the same time, it got me mad because Gina Raimondo wants to come out aftermath, but she doesn't want to come out during it. Any city reps didn't want to come out. Where's the city reps for Chad Brown? Where's the city reps for South Side? Where's the city reps for the West Side? There's actually a new poll. I don't want to get his name incorrectly, but his first name's John. He's actually a minority city rep that actually was
Gonzalez.
Gonzalez,
like
yeah.
He's this.
He's
He's the
one,
rep.
yeah.
He's the rep for this area.
I'm happy.
Okay.
Congrats to him.
Ward 1.
Ooh, we need that.
We didn't have a representative in this ward. We had nobody to speak.
We need that personally, because he's 28 years old. I'm 21. Knowing that he's 20 years old, you have to be 30 years old to be a senator. So that's 2 years. I want him to become senator so it can create a pipeline for us millennials, us minorities, to actually have a dream to become a lawyer, become who they want to be, and versus a rapper. Like, I'm not, no shade, no shame, no shade, which way you want to say it. I'm a DJ myself. I love the station, but most of you guys can't rap. You guys can't rap. I'm sorry. You guys can't rap. I feel like it's auto-tune. So instead of you taking your passion with the music, actually take a passion with your dreams. Because today, my dream actually came true. People actually supporting me, supporting what I believe in. And I almost started crying. But at the same time, it hurt me the most when people actually was chanting for me, telling me get off stage. Wait, is this censored?
No, go ahead. Say what you
They
gotta
said get the
say.
fuck off the stage because not the stage. Like get the fuck off for the steps because I'm telling them go home. Why we here? I'm telling you guys to go home, fight another day. It's a war. It's not just one battle. It's a war. We're playing chess. We're not playing checkers with them no more.
Right.
So you felt that them saying to leave, you should leave.
I feel shamed upon who organized this today to let that happen. Because you want to know why? Earlier that day, they were shielding me because I was actually helping them. It was not organized. I'm gonna be honest with you. I love the idea, but I felt as a community we was discriminated. Because at the same time, you gotta understand, we didn't go to our outsource. We didn't ask for anyone for help. We were supposed to ask for everyone for help. I was talking to if you want to say an OG, he was like, I don't care if we riot. I don't care this. I don't care that. Right. I'm 40 years old. Who gives a fuck?
Right.
He's smoking a cigarette and just on his merry way. I'm just like, so you're going to be selfish about the future? He's like, I don't give a fuck. Hit me hard. Also hit me hard, too, when you got young females, young, brilliant, beautiful females, don't want to stand up and actually tell these young kings, for becoming kings, to actually back off, fight another day. We're supposed to be together, not against each other. There was a situation too. How do you want to say it? So there's been rumors about George Royce. He's been a topic. He actually pays protesters to go protest, but actually violently protest. I'm gonna show you guys a picture. I don't know if you can actually show it to them too. I was walking in KP today. This is why. Fine. What do you guys pass it around so you can tell me what you guys think? Just tell me how you guys feel about that. What do you think it is?
What is it?
I think it's a Freemason star.
Well, I don't want to go into.
No, I'm not trying. I'm not trying to go into conspiracy. I'm not trying to go into conspiracies. But my point is the reason why I brought up that.
So what you're saying is there's somebody out there paying people to violently protest that aren't with the cause. They're just there to basically fuck shit up.
Yes. So there was a lot of groups at nighttime. They're talking about tear gas. They're just talking about violent things. Violent things that's not, it wasn't even spoken about. Like, I had 2 white folks ask me what milk. Is this how you get rid of tear gas? Where did tear gas come in the situation?
Yeah, I think there are those type of people. They're called agent provocateurs, and they come into all those rallies and those protests to incite the violence and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I'm sure they were here in Rhode Island. When it comes to the Providence police, and do you think that they're doing their jobs well enough with the youth, with you young people? Do you think that they're doing their job well enough? Like someone asked me today, how do you think the police did in this protest?
I think they did horrible.
Why?
You sounded like Trump right there. Say it again.
Why?
I think they did horrible. The reason why I say they didn't fulfill their duty is because you gotta understand everyone's a U.S. citizen. Excuse me. Everyone's a U.S. citizen. Everyone has their own rights. Right. Last night, no, it was the night before. Me and Zay got stopped, and our Fourth Amendment was violated.
You guys got stopped last night again?
No, the other night. It was like 2 nights ago. I was dropping him off, and we got stopped, and Fourth Amendment was violated. But thank God, I'm smart enough not to carry my ID. I have it on my phone. So they can't ask me for my ID. So you're going to ask me for my phone now? Now you need my password. Now you need a warrant. So now they let him go, and they followed us for 5 minutes to his house. So
that was Providence Police?
Providence Police Department, District 7.
Did you get the badge numbers?
It was so fast.
See, here's the thing about things like that, and this is something that we have to learn, and it's a shame that we have to do this as practice. You have to always look for the badge numbers and look for the names, because you'll never know what the next thing. That's the first thing you should do. I mean, even ask them if they'll tell you their name. You want to know my name? What's yours? You know, what's your badge number? Because you don't know where this altercation's gonna end up going. I mean, this meeting is gonna end up turning into possibly an altercation. So, as practice, as a young man, as practice, you have to always remember to look for the badge number, look for the name of the police officer. So when someone does ask you that question, do you know what their badge number was? You have it right off the top of your head, or if you have to write it down, you have to write it down. But that's some. It's ill. It's ill. And this is some of the things I wanted to bring up at the protest had I spoke, was what are some of the things that you go through, the white lady from wherever you're from? Like, do you go through the fact that someone crosses the street when you walk on that side of the street and clutch their purse? Do you go through the fact of being scared to death when you get pulled over because you don't know what's going to happen?
I had to have my hands on the steering wheel and all my windows open. All my windows open. Hands on the steering wheel, look straight. Just pray. That's all I feel.
I went from scared to death, Rudy. I went from scared to death to not giving a fuck whether I get shot or not. Not giving a fuck, because I'm not gonna let you violate me and make me feel less of a man because you want to feel. That happened just the other day when I walked downstairs and there was a cop behind my car and he was trying to tow my car, and it was just like, yo, I'm not gonna let you talk to me any way you want to. I got his badge number. His badge number was 399. His name was Tavares. I took a picture of him, by the way. He was Spanish, Tavares. I took a picture of him, by the way. You know, and then I got a phone call and they let me know that he's new. He didn't know who I was. He's new. The point I'm trying to make to you is that the practice of being a minority is not the same practice that these white folks have to go through, and that's something that they need to understand, that we wake up with a different type of fear. As soon as we open our eyes, we wake up with a different type of fear. And I also want to say that, me personally, I'm sorry that you have to go through that, and I'm sorry that Zay has to grow up into that. You guys have to be on a different type of alarm in life, because we've gone through it, but now it's a little bit stronger. Now the clashing is heightened. You know what I'm saying? It's bigger. And now you guys have to go through that. So and that's part of this process. You know what I'm saying? Like what Rudy's talking about, I'm talking about, that we can only teach you what we know of this system, and hopefully you take these steps and apply them to yourself, and Zay applies it to himself, and any younger person out there that's listening to this, hopefully you apply it to yourself. A couple of things that we're just spitting out there, but you really have to be on alert every day. Let me talk to Zay, since
I just have one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when I was at the protest, I actually talked to someone that was on the Providence School Council Board about the issue, saying that, just say you have PCTA Central and you have Classical, you have schools that's made up of minorities. So why are the Providence School Department is on the Westminster side versus the Broad Street side? And if you want to flip-flop it, why are franchises on the Broad Street side versus the Westminster side? The Westminster side is all basically, if you want to say, mom and pop businesses. For the majorities, we don't have opportunity to grow in, just say, the South Side, for example. We don't have an opportunity to grow in Chad Brown. We don't have opportunities to grow really anywhere, because you got these colleges that's buying out properties. You got these franchises buying out the market. How are we gonna grow? They're letting it happen. And like I said, Gina Raimondo, I don't approve what she did today neither. If she was really our governor, she would have stood out from the first minute this happened and actually explained how much she cared. That's all I gotta say.
I I actually think she didn't do such a bad job. She did make her presence felt at the end.
No, I'm sorry.
But she could have done a lot more.
I totally disagree. I agree with him. I feel like she should have been there from the start. If you tell me her spirit's gonna be here, Jeremy, I'm gonna hit you with my elbow. There's gonna be violence in here.
I think that she has a good spirit inside of her.
No,
I think that she
listen.
has people that have
You can
guided her in a direction and kind of given
being
I think that her spirit is
being the age that we are, we could sniff a racist. You can almost I'm telling you, you could tell. I swear, just by how a motherfucker walks, sometimes you could be like, that's a racist motherfucker right there.
See, and that's the thing.
And from I hate that. I hate that it's that. But you could tell from a hat they wear down to the sneakers that they have on their feet. Those are some racist ass fucking sneakers he got on his feet. Let me stay the fuck away from him. So I'm gonna say that I can tell I'm not saying she's a racist. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying if you are for this cause, the way you talked about it hours before the protest, you should be out there with a Black Lives Matter T-shirt on and a Black Lives Matter hat. And so on and so forth, because there are motherfuckers that are on the other side of this with a MAGA hat, and as soon as Donald Trump says he's going and doing a rally or whatever it is, there's a line. And all those officials are there, and they have their MAGA hat on, and they have you see what I'm saying? They're equipped and ready for him. So be equipped and ready for us the way you talked about it. And her being there at 8:45 tells me her leadership skills aren't there, and I don't care what you had to do. You need to drop what you need to do when you have 5,000, 6,000 constituents in one potential constituents in one area.
There was more than 5,000.
I don't even know how many there was, but if it was 50, if it was 50, she needed to be there speaking. She needed to be there speaking and letting people know that Providence and Rhode Island is not the place, and we don't practice like you seen what happened in what was it? Minnesota. What was it? What was that? Minneapolis. My bad. Yeah. So we don't. That's not who we are. That would make me feel okay if Hugh Clements came on and said my police department is refusing to, and we do not stand with anything that happened over there. That would make me feel sort of okay. And if Alorza came on and said I will not let the Providence Police Department be that department, I would feel okay. But you know what they did? They didn't do that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but essentially what you're saying is, because the other side of it is so extreme that showing up at the end is not enough. Because of what we're fighting against is so extreme.
Yes.
We need you to be extreme on the other end.
Yes, we need you to be a leader and not a part-time leader. I have this is my son. His name is Isaiah.
How you guys doing?
Yeah, so how do you feel? I know you've seen everything that I've gone through, but if there was a police officer coming on, two police officers walking down the side of the street, and you was on the same side of the street, and you were gonna collide with them, how do you feel about that? Like, well, not collide, but you had to pass them. Do you get nervous? Does it? What's your feeling?
I feel like there's being black youth in America. I mean, there's always a fear of seeing a cop. There's always a fear of, if I walk past this cop, is he gonna say that I have something on me? Is he gonna try to search me? Is he gonna look at me and think that I'm an animal? I mean, but for me, if I'm walking down the street and I see two cops walking towards me, I'm gonna keep on walking. I'm gonna keep on walking straight.
Yeah.
If I
do you say like how y'all doing? Do you address them, or you just totally ignore them?
I don't ignore them. If they say hello to me, I say hello to them.
Oh, so they have to make the approach for you to.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly how I feel. I mean, if you're gonna acknowledge me, I'll acknowledge you.
Exactly. That's a good point. What did you feel about the protest today? I know you were at the other protest. Give me the feeling about both of them. Let's start with last Saturday.
Okay, so last Saturday I kind of felt like it wasn't I felt like it was a mini protest. I felt like today was a protest I had to be ready for. I felt like the first protest was a mini protest only because I didn't see the support that I seen today.
Okay.
When I went to that first protest, I seen you there, I seen Alex there, I seen a couple of the people I know from a couple of different areas in Providence and around Providence, and I appreciated it. And I think that went smoothly. I think it was peaceful. I think it was nice. That's how I liked the first one. The second one, I had 3 different agendas for going to the second one. To show love for my people.
Okay.
To make sure that I can protect who I needed to protect, because I know you were going to be there. I know my brother Josh was going to be there. I didn't know that my brother Rudy was going to be there too. But if I would have seen him, I would have made sure that everybody was safe, because at the end of the day, I want to make sure that my people were good.
Okay.
And then my third agenda of the night was just to make sure that everybody was drinking water and staying hydrated. I had 3 bottles of water in my bag, and I kept on restocking and giving them to random people, just make sure they were good. And that's it.
Okay. That's commendable. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that. What do you want to see, if anything, change, or what do you want to what do you want to come out of this situation? Like, this is a huge situation. From I seen New Zealand today. Mm-hmm. A huge crowd in New Zealand. Like, this isn't local anymore. This is a global situation. So what would you like to see come out of this, if anything?
If I could see one thing come out of not just this protest, not just the protest last week, but of all protests on Black Lives Matter, on Our Lives Matter, I would want to see one word: unity. I would want to see all of us come together as one and have one code, and make sure that we follow that code and abide by that code, because we want to make sure that our sons, brothers, sisters, mothers, nieces, daughters, everybody grows up in a world where we can be peaceful and we can all eat. That's how I feel.
Do you believe that, or do you understand that's we've fought for that situation so long, and you think it's a skipping record that keeps on playing?
I mean,
that's not moving.
At the end of the day, everybody moves forward. Jesus fought for what we're fighting for. Everybody fought for what we're fighting for. At the end of the day, if it's right, then it's gonna be fought for. And if it hasn't changed, it's still gonna be fought for. That's the way I see it. There's one thing I did today that I'm not somewhat proud of it. I'm proud that I did it, and I'm happy I got over my nerves to do it. When I got to the State House, I seen the line of state officers watching the crowd, and I went up to each one of them individually and asked them one question.
And that was a hoopty. All right, you said you go ahead.
I went up to each one of the state officers on that line and asked them one question. The question was, why do you do your job? Why did you get into your job? And each one of them gave me an honest answer. One of them told me his sister got bullied when he was younger. He didn't like seeing that. He didn't like seeing others get bullied, and he did the job. He made sure that he put on his badge and he abided by what he stood for. And I appreciate it. And you know more than anybody else that I did the State Police Academy diversity thing like 2 years ago, where we were talking about what state police officers train and how they think and how they learn about these laws that they are supposed to enforce. And I just felt like it was my obligation to at least talk to those officers and have a meaningful conversation instead of them hearing voices shout at them the whole time. Because at the end of the day, they are lives too. There are black people under that badge. There are Hispanic people under that badge. There are white people under that badge. But they all are supposed to protect one thing, and that's Americans, and that's America, right?
Yeah. Okay. Hey, I know y'all gotta.
You're 20 years old? Mm-hmm. So you ain't got enough money. You ain't even got an ID to get into these liquor stores.
I have an ID, but I'm not going to a liquor store. I have a government issued ID.
I think what you possess. I think what you possess right now. I think that the way that you're speaking, I think that this is a missing element, and I think that it's missing because of the missing element in our communities. It's not just the media, because the media doesn't teach. The media has, and that's the problem, is the media that is teaching these people They don't. The media that's teaching these people don't teach love. You know, and I think that this right here, what you guys put together, this show, and the way that you guys are communicating, and the way that you have a clear understanding of the. I don't know if I want to call it the disenfranchisement of a black man. I think you've explained it in so many other different ways where I don't just want to just clog it up just with one thing. I think that the most important thing that I see here, my takeaway from this, in your understanding and Zay's in his understanding, is the fact that you listen to your direction of your elders. You ask questions. You just said the first thing that you did, what made you so proud, is because you had to ask those officers why you took this job. And my takeaway from that was, well, some of these officers came into it with an attitude. They came into it like, look, I'm going to right the wrongs of this country. I'm going to make sure that the way that people are being treated is not going to happen. And I'm going to stand up and do something, because I'm going to put on a badge. I'm going to put on a uniform, and I'm going to get the respect that I deserve so I can speak and so I can do that. So, but not so much to focus on that particular thing, but I want to focus on the fact that you have a father that is involved in your life, that is planting seeds of fruit that is actually going to be able to prosper, that is going to be able to grow. It's not anything about biblical. You mentioned some things about scripture. You mentioned some things about Jesus. You mentioned some things that I think these kids need to know and these kids need to learn, but they don't have that ability because they don't have that guidance. They don't have, Rudy's mentioned it, that we have been taking this and trying to develop our own understanding. We've been leaning on that, and we haven't had the direction. We haven't had men in our lives that have given us the direction. And I'm speaking from a standpoint of view, from a child's perspective that is out there hurting and crying and struggling, because I was that child back in the days. It's not about me, like Rudy says. It's about these children and about the movement. And what you're doing today and what this brother did today and what you guys continue to do, and the fact that you still want to be a state police officer after all of this scrutiny and after all of this negative influence, and the fact that you want to be a person that actually changes that is so important. And I want to make sure that you continue this burning passion to be a change maker, because if we don't have more people like you, there won't be any of us. We will have. This has been a genocide of our color, of our people, for 400 years. And today was a showing that this isn't about individual plantations in Providence. This is about the state of Rhode Island. This is about the United States of America. This is about the world. This is a global issue. And today, I think Providence actually stood up. I think Rhode Island stood up, not as individual communities like Central Falls and Southside and Chad Brown and Pawtucket, but as a whole. I think the state stood up, and I think that if it was fake love, I'll take that for right now, because we got to start from somewhere. And I think that the seeds that these guys are planting, by having a show like this, by talking and turning the music off and saying, look, there was a time to celebrate. Reverend Al Sharpton spoke about it yesterday at the funeral, which was amazing, and I hope more people actually took the time to actually watch that, and if they don't, YouTube it, because it was so powerful, and he's lost his opportunity to be able to speak because he speaks the truth, and so he has been put on that media station that doesn't get the credit. Like Rukiz is talking about, we need a media station that's ready to voice the opinions and the concerns of the community. That's why a brother like Rudy is here, and that's why you're here, because people need to hear your voice. It is so important, because this male figure is missing in our communities, and it's missing because we have been demonized, we've been destroyed, we've been, there's so many others. There's so many other things. I could go on for days. But the point is, this is not about me, and I'm going to pass it back over to you. And this is not about any ideologies specifically. I think that we today lost touch with the ideology of this being Black Lives Matter, and this became, because Rhode Island is predominantly Caucasian, this became an all lives matter situation, and Black Lives Matter kind of took a side step to it. But this is an American, this is a global issue, and the fact that you are as fluent in speaking the way that you are, man, I just want to, take the time to thank you and what you guys are doing. I know that a lot of people don't do that. And so that's all I really wanted to say, is that continue to be that beacon of light for those. It's not about where we start, it's where we finish. I went to a school in Bridgewater State. I didn't even get a degree. It's not about that. It's about what I'm going to do with the knowledge that I have and going forward. And it's the same thing with you. You might not be in that police academy tomorrow, but you keep that dream and you keep that fight and you'll be there. You keep on asking those questions, you'll knock down those doors. And we need more people like you to have that passion and have that energy to allow, the fears of this world to not stop them. And that's it, man. Appreciate you, brother.
Talking about what you just said, too, one of the officers that I talked to was actually one of the men who trained me in the Police Diversity Academy. So I got his number today, and I'm going to be talking to him about how the state police can help better our Black communities and how I can start becoming a state officer.
And I actually want to say, like, that's something that the older generation has to do. We have to figure out a way, and Rudy kind of touched on this, which I appreciated it. Sometimes it's so funny when he's making points that I'm like, that's what I've been saying. But he said that we have to stop trying to push kids just to be athletes. It's more than that. We need, in order to create the society that we want our kids to live in, we have to try to get the doctors and the lawyers, but we also have to get the engineers, and we have to get the computer analysis, and then we have to go and we have to have the police officers and the state police and the judges and so on and so forth. We have to have that situation. So if you do have a kid, by the way, I'm gonna let them go, Zay and Josh. I'm gonna let y'all go because I know you. Make sure you call me when you get home to make sure you got home. Yeah. Go on the highway.
Yeah.
Highway.
Take the highway straight. Don't even.
Yeah, go right around and go on the highway.
Roads are going to be blocked off by tanks and trucks.
That's for dugouts.
What?
Going down Douglas is for dugouts alone.
Yeah, and well, make sure you go to the highway straight on Douglas and go home and bring home. You staying at his house?
No, I live like 10 seconds away from that.
All right.
I do have
cool.
one more thing I want to say before I go, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
So during the protest, before the protest, and after the protest, I thought about one thing. And it was actually your situation that you had with a couple officers a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I think that's what put me on to actually trying to make sure that I can go to this protest and make sure that people are safe, because I know personally from what I seen you go through. I'm sorry, but I know personally from what I seen you go through that it's hard to even try to get some type of repayment or justice for what you went through. And I just want to let everybody know, especially people that are listening right now, that every brother and sister is loved and will be loved in my heart and hopefully in everybody else's heart.
Thank you for that. All right. Listen, get home safe. Get home safe.
Yeah, we're gonna be up tomorrow, man. You're gonna come to Newport, right?
Where we are, I am going to Newport tomorrow. I don't work tomorrow, so I'm going to Newport tomorrow.
If I have to rent a car, whatever, you know what I'm saying, get you guys in it.
I do want to say, ultimately, the youth today is going to be the workforce in the future at the end of the day. So, for me, like I said, it's refreshing.
Who knew Whitney Houston was onto something?
What happened?
I said, who knew Whitney Houston was onto something? I believe the children are our future. It's crazy.
But yeah,
who wrote that lyric?
so it's kind of like it is refreshing to see the youth ultimately at the end of the day just
I'm gonna be
involved.
honest. I'm gonna be honest, and I'm trying to be low, but I didn't know he thought like that.
See that? See what happens when you invest
But
the time and you believe in it?
Yeah.
But also going back to where you highlighted what I had said before, I even want to highlight even further than that. Someone in particular, not from here in Rhode Island, but from New York, my son.
Yeah.
I was watching an interview with him, and because the two words that I said before was relationships and no, I said resources and representation.
Yep.
Relationships is in there though.
Yep.
Yeah, relationships, absolutely,
I can see where you got that from.
relationships and representation.
Right.
Representation is a very important thing, and having reputation in very modern things that other cultures have been able to come into our communities and bank off of. You understand what I'm saying? Like the corner store owners and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying this as, you know what I'm saying, a man with Dominican parents where my father was Papi in the block. You know what I'm saying? That was my dad. My dad had the fucking on the east side of Providence, on the corner of Camp Street. That store that's there, that used to be my father's store in the 80s. It used to be called Cabrera's Market.
Cabrera's, all right.
That was my father and my mother owning that store. And they didn't just do that here. They did that in New York, in the Bronx. You know what I'm saying? And then eventually came here and had me and my younger sister. And that wasn't the only store that they had here in Rhode Island. So I say that as someone who, you know what I'm saying, who you know what I mean, with immigrant parents, and that was beneficial. I could say from firsthand experience that was a beneficial thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But now if that store is owned by, you know what I'm saying, someone who's black in the neighborhood, you know what I'm saying, from that neighborhood, now that money is staying amongst yourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you know, so and it's putting the putting a face to that as well, not just the entertainers, not just the athletes, you know what I'm saying, but putting a black face to that as well, you know what I'm saying? So, and my son, and the reason I brought up my son is because he was talking about just that, and he said, what I'm trying to do is buy up his goal is to buy up the property in the Bronx.
I love it.
In his area, he wants to buy it up, and he's talking about having stores, like not necessarily. He's not talking about doing something that's way out of this world. He's not talking about, you know what I'm saying, something that's outrageous or anything like that. He's saying those practical things that are there, like laundromats, you know what I'm saying, corner stores, dollar stores and stuff like that, like places to eat and things like that. Like, he's like, those are the kind of things that I want to open up. It's not something out of the ordinary, but we just want to have our faces being in those positions so that more people are motivated to do that as well, not just, you know what I'm saying, the typical
do you think I'm just going off of some things that be in my head, but do you think that white people think that we're making it a racist thing? Like, when we say things like we want to build our own communities and we want to have a corner store where we see a black face, or we want to have a black doctor, do you think, and of course you can't speak for them, but in your opinion, do you think that white people think that this is we're trying to segregate?
I think anytime you want to talk about the black dollar being controlled in any way, shape, or form, you're gonna rattle some boots, because everybody makes money off of the black dollar at the end of the day. So I don't know if it's necessarily a racist thing or an economic thing. You know what I'm saying? Of like whether it's discomfort with racism or fear that they're not going to be able to bank off of us anymore. If that makes sense, you know what I'm saying?
I also was talking to someone, and he said the protests are good, and he said the marching's good, but he said nothing has ever gotten done in history without a boycott, which means that you stopped that person, that machine from making the money. He said this shit ain't ever gonna get correct until you boycott these big corporations, until you boycott things like Wendy's or things Dunkin' Donuts here. Dunkin' Donuts here, definitely. Nike. We have to stop giving into these corporations, because what ends up happening. This is what I'm.
They bleed us.
Well, what he said was, if we were to do that, then those stockholders would be pissed off, and then they would ask for a change, and the stockholders that own like Nike stock or whatever it is would start uprising because they're looking for a change.
You have to marketize it. You have to be able to market what is going on.
Thought they was pulling over my son.
Oh.
They're not gonna pull them over. They're not gonna pull them over.
Yeah, so that was the thing that I wanted to. I mean, he brought to me. So I was thinking about what we could boycott out here. What would be the thing you could boycott in Rhode Island to stop them from making money? The only thing that I do know is the dispensary that Gina Raimondo's husband owns. But finding out, huh?
Who?
Gina Raimondo's husband owns the dispensary.
Where? In the one on Charles Street?
I'm not sure which one because I don't smoke weed, so I wouldn't know. But I'm just saying, like, what would make sense for us to Heather, my cousin Heather actually said Walmart, but I'm talking about directly here. Directly here, and Jeremy said that's not going to happen, but that would be good. But directly here in Providence or in Rhode Island, that we could stop bringing the black dollars to that would hurt them to give us give into some action, to make some action happen.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we need to talk about. I think that's something that we need to really figure out. What's gonna hurt them here? Because if they don't give a shit about the black dollar, they ain't gonna give a shit about the black change. What do they need to change if they don't give a shit about the black dollar? If we're not spending no money anyway,
I think we need to look into exactly where the black dollar is going, though, too, to get that answer.
Say it again. I'm sorry.
I think we need to look into exactly where the black dollar is going to get that answer.
Understandable.
You know what I'm saying? We need to trace that.
I'll tell you two places I know for sure. Eblin's and Expressions. I know two places for sure. When I see a family, and it's so crazy because, I mean, I've taught my son and my kids not to love Jordans. Like, I just put it in them, like, there's so many other dope sneakers out there. You don't have to love Jordans. But when I see a family from the infant to the dad have like, I'm like, how the fuck? Because sneakers are like $200, $300. How the hell they get almost $1,200 for the fam? Right. That shit's crazy to me. I find that a little bit weird.
You're only gonna be able to wear that as long as it looks crisp and clean.
Exactly.
Once it just starts getting all fucked up, then that $1,200 goes right down the drain.
I think if we do things like make Eblin's and Expressions accountable for not, I'll give you. I'm gonna show Rudy and Jeremy something that I wanted them to check out, because on my Instagram, when George Floyd got murdered, I just wanted to check some things. What does that say, Rudy? Going all the way down.
It's different expression stores. There's like a whole bunch of different pages for expression stores.
So what I did was I went through their account, and I wanted to see if they put anything up about George Floyd or if anything about Black Lives Matter.
And it's probably about like 7-8 different accounts he just showed me right
So I went through about 13.
13 different.
He has 13. He has more than that, but I went through about 13 accounts, and then I called up the person who I know does the Rhode Island account, and I said, "Did you put anything up about George Floyd?" He's like, "Nah, they fired me." I was like, "All right, well, I mean, with COVID-19, I understand not everybody's keeping people on board, so that was all right."
It wasn't a result, because the way you said it, it almost sounded like he tried to do something and then he got fired.
Yeah, no, that was clickbait. I just clickbaited you live. I wanted you to be more interested in the story, but so then I asked him, well, why ain't they putting anything up about George Floyd? Because they didn't put any on every single account. They put the new Jordan releases. They put what's going on in the store. One account was a basketball account. They put congratulations and happy birthday to one of the players, but they put nothing about George Floyd up, and that upsets me. And I'm gonna tell you why it upsets me, because the owner of Expressions is a black man. His name is Todd, and to me, that really bothered me. So we went to Expressions today, and they were boarding up all the stores. Mind you, the day of the riots and the looting, I had got a video that they broke into that same Expressions on Branch Avenue. No, I mean in Eagle Square, and someone sent me a video of them people doing that. So they're boarding up the store inside and out, and I'm like, you work here? The three guys, older gentlemen that were there, were like, you work here? They're like, yeah. I'm like, why didn't you put anything about George Floyd on your accounts, on your Twitter feed or your Instagram accounts? Oh, because we don't put ourselves in the middle of all of that. I said, you know what? That's the three guys that.
What store was this at?
This was Eagle Square. And I said back to him, I said, well, that's why your store got broken into.
Yep.
So, once again, I need to, here's some of the things that I asked the person that worked for Expressions. I asked him, how much have they donated to any cause? And then he was like, to be honest with you, Ruck, I don't think they've donated anything. I haven't put anything up, and I've worked for them and I'm not trying to directly attack Expressions at all. But what I am saying is that if the black dollar is spent there, put the money some of the money that we've spent there back into the community and back into things that we need, to make sure we support you some more.
Right.
And that goes with Eblins too. Eblins is a franchise out of Connecticut, and from what I've learned, it's owned by some Armenian guys. So, with that being said, well, maybe we gotta hit them where it hurts to start this shit.
Yeah.
Maybe we gotta hit them where it hurts. Maybe
I'm
that's
on board.
the point.
I'm on board. I haven't shopped at Expressions at Evelyn since I was in high school.
You haven't been.
I think it will hurt the young kids, especially Jordan releases and all that good shit, Kanye releases and all that. But here's the thing, if there was 5,000-10,000 people out there today, and those people weren't there to even say anything.
Yeah.
But we don't know for sure that they weren't there. We don't know if they were in part.
Listen, well, let's go on their accounts and see.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
You're right.
I'm sure, because I did see, like I said, I seen DJ Franchise.
I'm telling you that I'm not saying that they are or they aren't. What I'm saying is, when I go through certain accounts, if they ain't putting anything up, that's also a violation.
Right.
It's a violation. This is real shit right now.
Yeah.
But want me to tell you what they did put up? They put up the raffle for the Jordans.
Right.
And that was in the middle of everything else. A pair of Jordans came out like not even a week ago, or right when everything happened with George Floyd and COVID-19, both things, right? And they still had a line of people waiting to get the Jordans. So I'm not like I said, I'm not trying to directly attack. I want to know. Do we have a right to know what he's done to give back? Do we have a right to know what Expressions and Eblins and the sneaker stores that are actually making the money off of these young kids? Because I refuse.
See, and I think that it's really a tough situation, because I spoke with a business owner for a long time that owns a franchise of a few car washes, and I was asking the same questions, like, are you just going to sit back here and just wash cars, or are you going to try to get involved in the activism and support some of these matters, because this is an issue. This is not just issue. You know, I think a lot of us focus on issue and stop focusing on the major issue. You know, we're so focused on ourselves, and we want to deflect and point fingers at everybody else for them not doing, for the things that we could actually do ourselves. I think this is a great idea by, you know, boycotting those people that don't support those communities. You know, I think it's a must that we decide where we spend our dollars as a black, as an African American, as a person that knows that investing money into businesses create opportunity for those businesses to enslave the black man. It's just set up, it's just a system. It's not particular individuals. It's not Gina Raimondo in her 2-year, you know, stint as governor. It's the system that she's built in that has kind of restrained her from being able to do the things that she can do. You know, but now we know that there's executive power that these governors.
How does that? How is that helping us? How is that helping us figure out what we can boycott to get some support?
Because I don't know if we should be boycotting our own brothers and demonizing.
I hate that. Let me tell you why I hate that. Because they demonize these same. Some people have strayed away from their community. That's not my fault.
And that's the problem that we have, is that
that's not my fault. So let's just say there's someone that you support and you went to school with, and he hired all white staff, but that situation was something that black people actually go and support. Wouldn't you be like, yo, you didn't hire not one brother here? No, none.
Because we're taught to create wealth. We're not taught to build health.
All right, so then we need to teach them that they need to create some jobs for the youth and actually pay them a decent wage, because there's something else I heard, but I ain't even gonna go there.
They also say, look, don't tell everybody your secrets. Don't do something for you. Don't worry about the next man. You know, Providence, don't get me wrong, Providence shows a lot of love. By nature, this is a melting pot of so many different cultures. I honestly didn't know if you were Dominican, if you were Hispanic. I didn't know what denomination. The fact
I get that a lot.
Yourself as black gave me so much more respect for you, because you know that your, you know, immigrants are from the Dominican, but you still represent yourself as black. So that to me, and that's what you are. You're just maybe one boat stop, or maybe two, from becoming exactly who I am.
Can I ask you what that has to do with figuring out what we need to boycott to okay, it's not him. It's not him. So let's go. Let's Evelyn's. I don't even. You know what? Like, Jeremy, come on, man. We can't pick and choose, man. We can't pick and choose. These are the things that's holding things back.
The list of demands and say, look,
these are holding things back. Let's figure out. So let's because we are awfully late, and I know there's still people on, and I appreciate the people that are on. But let's figure out what we can do to pressure them to give us some things that we need. What can we do to pressure them? And I only said what I said because I know. I said it to Rudy. I know for sure that's where some black dollars are getting spent for real.
That's a fact.
I know for sure. So let's figure out some places that black dollars are getting spent that we can not spend it there to hurt them, so they can actually hear us. Because the only other way that they can hear us is if they get their spot broken into, and then these kids start rioting, looting, and taking their shit.
I'll tell you one spot that's hot. It's across the street from KFC, off of North Main Street. It's called the Women's Hair Salon, and it's right over there next to Richmond Autos. I've never seen so many women pulling out of that place.
It's an Asian spot.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying.
So no, I would.
I don't know if it's an Asian.
Do you feel bad about that? I know what you're talking about.
Right.
I know what you're talking about.
I
know what you're talking about, bro. I've been there. Yes.
Well,
most hair weave spots or any hair product places here are owned by Asians, but that one's definitely owned by Asians.
If there was one group of individuals that did not support and in hordes.
I seen Asians for Black Lives Matter today. By the way,
I'm saying, no. I'm saying the group, the children from these Asian folks, they were there. I'm talking about the Asian adult folks that have
Heather
been taking
said-
our money for the past 60 years, and then it's been taken advantage of.
Heather said Walmart because they support Trump. But here's the thing about Walmart is that you have to have a collective to really hurt Walmart. Rhode Island ain't hurting Walmart.
See,
I mean, we could try, but telling some folks not to go shop at Walmart, where they gonna shop?
Stop and shop and pay more money. So that's the problem.
Stop and Shop, Target, they are gonna pay more money. I don't think.
You're gonna go to your local grocery.
I mean, I love it. I love for that to happen. I love for that to happen.
They've choked them out. They have put the foot on the necks of these business owners also. So we're sitting here going to sabotage and destroy the smaller businesses.
I didn't say sabotage.
Well, not sabotage, but we're talking about boycotting and maybe destroying their name and their reputation.
No, I didn't
You know.
say none of that. I'm no
Well-
slander, just boycott.
Well, boycotting is going to really do some damage. I will tell you this.
Not if
Especially
they, not if they
national.
comply quickly.
Right. But it has an ability to
Saying-
have a major, it has some stink. I
But
think
that's
that
but
if we
that's
put
also
some teeth
but you
into
got to
this-
think though too, like that's only if they're not on the same page. You understand what I'm saying?
Smoke said anything federally funded, buses, trains, etc.
That's what I'm talking about. Things that we can actually show up in hordes and not affect the actual economic development. We need to come at them with a different approach. We need to come at them with a better plan. We just can't think that boycotting is going to get the results, because boycotting is only going to bring a situation where, these people are going to spend their money somewhere else. And I'd rather have them spend their money in the communities instead of spending their money with corporate America. So we got to pick and choose our battles. We got to pick and choose.
I'm starting to think you're with the man. I'm starting to think you're with the man. I'm starting to think you're trying to infiltrate my situation over here. I don't know, man.
I just think that I
know
that you want.
No, I just no. This is. I just put that on the table because it's what I directly see. Let's take some of the things that people are saying in here: federally funded buses, trains, etc. So let's start with the trains. We don't go on Amtrak anymore, and we what?
We take e-scooters around town, jumps. Come on now.
And then we don't get on RIPTA. We just boycott RIPTA until we figure out how to bankrupt them. If that's the plan,
RIPTA's a city-funded and state-funded.
let's figure it out. But we need here's where everything goes astray. We could sit here and talk about it, but we definitely need somebody to lead this situation. We need some leaders. We need some real leaders. Some people that don't mind being scrutinized, by the way, because they're gonna try to tear your life apart.
That's a fact.
I think we should.
You could call now.
Courthouses. What about the court? What about?
What, we don't go to court no more? Well, go ahead.
No. Those are the places that we need to be, putting all the pressure around. The places that are
Smoke, you could call now.
literally destroying us. See, these stores, people have a choice. They have a choice. They can either spend money or not.
Yeah. All right. So I'd rather them spend money somewhere else instead of at
But they're gonna
Ebelins
still have
every
to
day.
spend money. Where are we going to direct them to? Who are they going to spend money with?
Online,
Online with who?
whoever.
Give us a reason to.
Hold on, let me take
do
this
it
call.
better.
Hello.
What's good, my brothers?
What's going on, Smoke?
What up?
Just checking in.
What it do?
Hey, what's up to everybody there? Peace and love. Peace, love, and hair grease, man. Right. Obviously, I came on towards the end of the conversation. I definitely did want to be a part of the conversation, so that's why I called up.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No one really has the answers. We haven't. The things that we're repeating that a few generations back they did that kind of work, but obviously, with 2020 was still here. I think as far as the hurting the businesses, I think the best thing for us to do as a collective is just look at what they did when they was boycotting, 20, 30, 40 years ago when they started the boycotts and all of that, and just kind of take a page from that book. Obviously, it's going to be different things because, we have more, what's the word I'm looking for, ahead in the times. Right, but I think we could take a page from their book and figure out what they targeted. And let me just say this is more than just boycotting, because I think at the end of the day, like Rudy just said, if they come to agreement with us, then what did we accomplish really? I think it's really just time to not just boycott, but actually from the boycott stop putting say we do stop using the Amtrak, then we need to find a way that we can get around with our own, and just that be it. We don't need to go back after we stop using that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's really the solution for me. I was like, yes, boycott. Let's take a piece from that and hurt the system, for the time being. But while we're doing that, we also need to figure out an alternative to going back. Mm-hmm. And it ain't gonna happen overnight, obviously. But I think if that's just the larger picture. Honestly, I think segregation is not like I have a real issue with not, being a multicultural cities and towns and integration and all of that. But I think once we start doing our business with our own and educating our own and taking care as far as medical and dental and everything just in-house first, I think that we need to try to focus on doing that before we try to, forge a relationship with people that don't want to be friends with us. And that's all I really have to say.
I hear you.
Dig that.
I appreciate the call, Smoke.
Yeah, man, no problem. I'm gonna get back in the chat.
I definitely I gotta have you up here, so we're gonna have you come through.
Yeah, man. Whenever you're ready, man, let me know.
Yeah, mine.
Yeah, mine. Black power.
Hi, Smoke.
Hey, Smoke, did you get to go? Oh, that's all right. But anyways, man.
Shout out to Smoke, man.
Yeah.
He's the homie.
Definitely has a good.
I think we're gonna wrap this up today because we've been out for a minute. I think it's almost 3 hours. But no, I think we have a lot of things to talk about. That's why it's called Let's Talk. It's called Let's Talk, and I wish more people would call in and view their get their view out. We need so many POVs that so we can have these conversations of change. We need those point of views. So I need people to call in when I put this up. I'm gonna try to do it at a certain time and keep it consistent.
Yeah. Today the protest happened, so
yeah. No, I think that's one of the things. Maybe I'll do it on a Monday or Tuesday where it's I know people are in, and we could do it at 9:00. Yep. But I definitely wanted to get Rudy. I appreciate you coming, and you already know. Rudy's tense, man. Rudy's tense. Rudy. When I think about Rudy, I have to gear myself up to not want to kill nobody after he talks to me. Because I feel like I'm gonna just want to fight somebody after he talks to me, or I see something. And let me just say something about Rudy. What's so funny is he called me and he said, "Ruck, I want you to check out this live I did, and let me know what you think." And I knew, because I know Rudy, I had to gear myself up to watch it, right? So I waited. I didn't do it when he said, and he probably was like, "Oh, fuck him." He probably didn't even look at it. But I waited till the next morning, and I'm driving while I'm watching his live and listening to it, and I feel myself pressing on the gas more and more and more because he's hyping me up, and I'm like, I got to Fall River in like 10 minutes. I got to Fall River in 10 minutes from Providence because I'm just like,
They don't know what video you're talking about.
I know,
It's like,
I know.
I know, so it's like it's hilarious.
and I'm just like, oh man, when I get to Fall River, I'm gonna smack the first fucking white person. Actually, it was about the riots and the looting and everything, but it just. That's why I think it's very important to get these different sides of people's opinion, different people's opinion, because you don't know what people are feeling, and then on top of that, everything else, there's people out there hurting. This is hurting them. This situation is hurting in so many different ways. You're hurting for George Floyd. You're hurting for your kids. You're hurting for your neighbor's kids. You're hurting for people who have to grow up in this bullshit. You're hurting because you don't know by the time it's your time to go if you're going to help this situation at all or if it's going to be different. You know what I'm saying? So there's so many things going on right now. I think that it's very therapeutic to have a place where you could talk about it, and this is it.
doubt.
And
And thank you for having me.
I think also we need to you don't even know, it was my pleasure, believe me. I think we also have to have that conversation. I think we're gonna have it on the next one. It's gonna be let's talk mental health.
Right.
Mental health is this is how I get my aggression out. You know what I'm saying? Or them turntables is how I get my aggression out. But I think that we don't speak about it enough. And even though it's out there a lot more now, I think especially with Black and brown, we're scared to go see a therapist because it was your cousin who was your therapist growing up, or it was your brother or your sister. Like you got to vent to them. You know what I'm saying? And as we get older and those people might not be around, you have nobody to vent to. And I think that that's something that we need to definitely do. So I listen to radio.
Scary topic that you're gonna enter.
I listen to radio and I hear people hurting, and when I hear people hurting, I'm just like, yo, I need to do that. So you're absolutely right. It's gonna be scary, but
Rudy touched it on it. He said that these people. He said you can hear the magnified pain that is coming through the voices of these children. You can hear it. You can feel it in their voices.
Yep.
He says if there was a takeaway that I took from all of this, he said it was that energy of pain that was being compounded in the voices of the testimonies of people coming forward and speaking their truth. He said he sees it a lot in the poetry field, but today I think a lot of people actually took that pain and voiced it either with their actions, or they voiced it with their signs, or they voiced it with them just showing up and speaking up and yelling and shouting. And I think that we are healing as a nation. This was a sign of a healing process. This is a sign that we have so much more to go. But I want to tell you this. This is the most important thing. This is going to be the hardest thing that you do, is to have people talk about their mental health. And this is a big problem in the African American community. And this is what Kanye West was talking about, that he got, shunned for, to be honest with you. Everybody decided, because mental health, or let me just say, mental, or I should say, let me just put it this way. The mentally insane person, I'm not going to talk about it now, but I just want to give you this so you can have something to research. The mentally insane person is more demonized than the black man. The mentally insane person is more demonized than the black man. He has no place for shelter. He is looked at as, one, a menace to society and a menace to himself.
I don't want to get too deep. We're gonna definitely talk about it next week. Before we go, I also want to touch on this because it's something that I put up on Facebook. The mental health of the police officers.
Yes,
the mental health of the police officers, and the reasoning why that some of them are really aggressive and they don't know how to deal with the public because they're hurting. So that's something else I want to speak about when we talk about this mental health issue. I don't want to make it about just our mental health. I want to make it. I also want to point out their mental health, because what I said was I didn't want my son getting pulled over by a police officer that's hurt because he just broke up with his girlfriend and he's taken that pain to work with him. Exactly. and he hasn't digressed from that pain, and now he's taking it out on my son. Yep. And I'll be honest with you, the police officers I know and the things that I've seen being in the other field that I'm in besides this one, I've watched them take it out and known that they have a problem before they've gone into work. So that's something that I definitely want to talk about, and I definitely want to touch on the next Let's Talk. Just look out. I'll put up a new flyer. And actually, Smoke, I thought the same thing. We are not healing yet. Sorry, Jeremy, we're not healing. We definitely want to try, but we're not healing yet. I feel like we have an open wound with salt in it right now, and that open wound, we have nobody to come and sew that wound up because there's nobody with the tools to sew it up right now. We're open right now. So we are working on it. We're working on it, but we're far from there.
It's an open wound, and we just keep putting a Band-Aid on it.
That's it.
100%.
It's time for us to remove the Band-Aid and start.
No, it is time. But you want me to tell you something? Know what the fucked up thing is? Just to go off of your analogy, the fucked up thing is that we don't know we have the wound. That's the fucked up thing. We're denying. Oh, I'm not hurt for real. I'm not hurt for real. Okay, this thing will heal itself. That's what we do. We do that type of shit, and that's why we never get anywhere in that. And then we walk like fucking Medina. Medina with the limp, man. It just bothers me, yo. Because you didn't take care of that wound the way you were supposed to. Right. But we're out of here. Rudy, anything else you want to say? You can say whatever you want to say.
I love you all. We talked enough, man. I love you all. That's it, man. Take care of yourselves. I love you all.
I'm gonna take a page out of Smoke's book, Love, Peace, and Hair Grease, man. We out of here.